Hi everyone, welcome to Movie Reviews with Kim. I am Kim from the Nerd Element, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Eleanor Moss. Eleanor, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, so let's get right into it. Hunger Games Catching Fire. What did you think about the movie? I personally really liked it. It is an adaptation from a book, and books usually have to be cut down to fit into a 2.5 hour movie, but I think they did a great job with the parts that they did decide to leave out. What did you think?
I really loved it. I actually reread the book and finished it 10 minutes before they showed the first movie because I did the double feature. So actually, I was able to actually pick out from the book and the movie and be like, all right, that's good. That's not good. I thought they did a great job versus the first movie. It was a good movie, but this one was definitely way better.
That is true. I did like this one a lot better than the first movie, and that's good that you just read it because I read the books like was it 3 years ago, so it's a little fuzzy. Then I'm going to ask you questions because there are some things that I do remember, and I think it's from the second book, but it could be from the third. It's all kind of blurry. So one of the things that I did notice, and guys, this is a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie, close out of this. There's a 5-minute non-spoiler review that you can view on our page, but spoilers are ahead. Okay, so one thing I did notice that I think I feel like there was more tension between Gale and Katniss in the book, and maybe Katniss and Katniss and Peeta in the book prior to going to the Quarter Quell. I felt like there was this and they did have a little bit of tension in the movie with Peeta in the beginning, but they got over that like that. So it was, and I feel like there was more in the book. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I definitely think they downplayed that for the movie. I don't know if it was more because they kind of wanted to jump right into more important parts of the book, or if they kind of just were like, this isn't really necessary. People know that there's a tension. Yeah, that was definitely something I noticed as well.
Yeah, and I did. You know what? I really liked because in the book, there is a lot more time between you seeing them in District 12 and actually going to the Quarter Quell. And for movie purposes, they need to get to the action because there's a lot that goes on with the Quarter Quell. So, but during that time when after they know that they're going, they do a lot of research on Haymitch and how he won. And so they eliminated all of that, and I think it really dives into the personality of Haymitch, played by Woody Harrelson, and they completely cut all that out. That was in the second book, right?
Yes, that was in the second book. I was actually kind of disappointed because with Haymitch, we don't really get the best feeling of why he is the way he is from the movie. So I was really hoping they would have showed kind of what happened during the games with Haymitch so that everybody kind of sees he's not just an alcoholic because he likes to drink. He legitimately had some crazy stuff happen to him.
I know, and they could have thrown in a flashback. He could have been having nightmares, something, give us something,
Yeah.
But nothing, absolutely nothing. And I feel like they could develop that character a lot more. Woody Harrelson is a good actor, and he can do it. And I know it's, what are you going to do when you're going to make a 3-hour, 4-hour movie? Some fans might sit through a 4-hour movie, but it's, I don't know what you're going to do, but I really think, and that was part of my issue with this movie, although I really liked it. I'm a big character development person, and I like to understand where the characters are coming from, and I think they didn't do a lot of character development, and they couldn't. I mean, no nuts and bolts. They were my favorite characters because they're kind of quirky, and they did show them, but still, personality development wise, they didn't really do it. And if they weren't going to do it with Haymitch, they weren't going to do it with nuts and bolts. Joanne too. I really like Joanne. And they're going to have more of a chance to develop her character, as we know, going forward. But that was one of my Peeves. Is there anything that you didn't like about this movie?
I I mean, I really did like the movie overall. There was one detail that they changed from the original movie to the sequel that I don't understand why they did it. So, in the books, Buttercup is this orange cat. And in the first movie, they made it a black cat. And fans were livid. They made this big fuss about it. So the author for the book actually demanded for the second film that they make the cat orange to appease people. You see the cat for like 2 seconds, and it's an orange cat, and I'm like, was that really necessary? No. No.
That is something that they should have demanded in the first movie before it went to print. And that is kind of random. I did not notice that. I mean, I noticed the cat, but I had forgotten that it was a black cat in the first film. And I did notice the cat in the beginning. I was like, that's a cat that doesn't like her. But that's interesting. That is kind of a big change. They look different.
Like, had the cat played a bigger part in the second movie, I would have been like, okay, it's a little understandable, but for a 2-second clip, I don't get it.
The cat is in the third book, too, so if it's in the third movie, it'll be interesting if it's, like, white with polka dots or something like that. I mean, I wonder if it's going to be an ongoing joke, because they've already, I mean, everybody knows now. Everybody knows now. So it'll be interesting to see that. I'm going to look for it now. Now it's on my list. One thing I did notice, another difference that wasn't in the movie, that was in the book, was the whole, how do you pronounce it? It's the Avox, the tongueless people for that. I think it was like Gale's friend that became one because they were defying a peacekeeper or something like that. And you kind of see Katniss and how she, I don't know, how she kind of deals with that situation. I mean, she finds out about it, and they completely took that out. And I guess they could, because it wasn't really necessary. But I did notice when she was eating on the train, there were these waiters or whatnot in the background, and you couldn't really see them. Something was weird about their face, but it's like they couldn't zoom up so you can see, and I think that was their representation of them. But they didn't dive into that character at all, and I thought that was kind of weird. Yeah.
Another big change from the book to the movie is actually the reason why Gale gets whipped in the square. So they show him attacking the head peacekeeper, and so he demands to have him whipped. When in the book, he's actually caught trying to sell a turkey, because the previous head peacekeeper would buy the game from Gale, and with the new guy in his house, he didn't know that, so that's why he gets whipped. And I didn't really like how they did that change there.
Yeah, it was, why I think they probably did it was because they didn't even focus on, I mean, I know that the head game guy told, Snow to, send peacekeepers down there and take away their black markets and everything like that. And so you have to assume, and we know from reading the book that that's what's happening when they're going into District 12 and they're lighting everything on fire. But if you did not read the books and you were just seeing this movie, you would have no idea what that is. And so if they were going to whip Gale for selling a turkey, they would have to kind of explain all that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably why they cut it out, but I think it was probably beneficial. It would have been beneficial if they explained all that, because you just see them setting things on fire and you're like, what's going on? I mean, so they're just burning everything down. I mean, you don't really get the feel that it's a black market, and I'm trying to remember the first movie. I think they do go into it a little bit, but you have to be paying attention. I think it's like something that if you read the book, you understand what's going on. If you didn't, you're like, So, I don't know. I thought it was a really good movie. I do think that they showed a lot from Snow's perspective, Donald Sutherland's character, which they didn't do in the book, because in the book you get a lot of Katniss in her perspective, but they did a lot of behind the scenes with the actual people who run the game, and you could see what they were doing behind the scenes, and you don't get that in the book. And I thought that was actually a pretty good ad, because it was interesting to me. I don't know. What did you feel about it?
I definitely think it makes the movie more well-rounded, whereas versus with the book where you're focused only on Katniss and what Katniss thinks, what Katniss feels. kind of getting to see how it all comes together from different perspectives, I think that makes it more entertaining.
Yeah, and one of my big things that I really liked about this movie was the arena itself. When I was reading it, I was imagining it one way, and it was pretty. They did a good job bringing that to life, especially when they panned out and you saw it from afar. I really liked that. You could see that it was kind of, and you find out it's a clock, but you could see the way that it was shaped, that it was like that. I think they did a good job with the force fields. It's so interesting because it looks like it's a jungle somewhere, but you know it's this like massive dome. And I don't know. It was so cool to me, and that's why I think I liked that they showed some of the behind the scenes, especially when he rotated the clock, and you see what they're doing behind the scenes, and then how it happens in the arena. So cool. I geeked out. I totally did. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Well, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and the only reason I gave it 4 out of 5 stars was because it's a bridge movie, and bridge movies with me are just that. It's like The Two Towers. It's probably my least favorite film of the series for that, just because it's just like a bridge between one movie and the next, and this one was kind of like that. It was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable movie, and so that's why I still gave it 4 stars. I don't know if you didn't read the books and you just went to see this movie, if you would be as satisfied with it as the first, just because the first had a start and an end. This one, it did have a start, kind of, and it didn't really have an end. It's just kind of like, wait for it, and I know there's 2 more movies after this, so that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It sounds like you really, really liked it a lot. You thought it was awesome.
I really did. I will agree with you on that whole bridge kind of thing. Mm-hmm. My husband actually turned to me at the end and he's like, "Is that seriously the end? That's just how they're ending it." He's never read the book, so it's like, yeah, that's how they're ending it. So I think a little disappointed. Like, it kind of, for people, like you said, who haven't read the books, it's kind of like, what just happened? So here we go, waiting a year to see what happens next.
Oh, and more than a year since they decided to. What is that? That's like the new trend in Hollywood. Take a book, split it into 2 for the last series, and make 2 movies. Yeah. Which is cool because then you get to. I mean, it's more money for them, but then you get to put more of the book into it. So I'm really expecting with the next 2 movies that it's going to encompass more of the book in both of them than the others, just because they're going to have more time to work with. I mean, if they're 2.5 hours apiece, I mean, that's a lot of time. So I'm expecting big things from that. And yeah, like you said, for somebody who hasn't read the book, it's just kind of like, but. So I don't know. That's why I gave it 4 stars. What would you rate it? Out of 5 stars, what would you rate it?
I'd probably give it 4.5. Yeah. I'm giving it that half. With that, losing that half just for, kind of that cliffhanger at the end for people who haven't read the books, and just a few of the minor changes that I would have liked to have seen in the movie from the book that they didn't really put in there.
Yes, character development. I expect to see more of that in the next 2 movies, everybody. Character development. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. That was our review for Hunger Games: Catching Fire. If you have any comments, go ahead and put them below. You can always tweet me at anime23 or at the Nerd Element. And Eleanor, do you want to let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, I can be found on Twitter. It's at Eleanor, 2 underscores, because I have to be difficult, and then Grace. I'm sure you can find me tweeting with Kim sometimes as well. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and I will see you next time. Bye.